The Minnesota scandal now heading to Capitol Hill, with the House Oversight Committee announcing 2 hearings on the matter starting next week. It's blowing open a much bigger can of worms as investigators dig into potential abuse across other Democrat-run states. Improper use of COVID-era small business loans in Illinois, over $10 million of Medicaid payments flagged in New York, and more than $5 billion in questionable federal housing aid concentrated in California, New York, and Washington, D.C.
Can you imagine? They stole $18 billion. That's just what we're learning about. That's peanuts. In California is worse, Illinois is worse, and sadly New York is worse. A lot of other places. So we're going to get to the bottom of all of it. It was a giant scam.
Joining me now is New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. Congresswoman, $18 billion, you heard the president.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is exactly what Republicans were talking about all year when we said we're going to go in there, we're going to cut the waste, the fraud, and the abuse. We put in certain measures as it relates to Medicaid, and we were getting attacked by the Democrats for actually doing this. Remember, they were saying we were going to take people off of their health care. That was simply not true. We were going to go after the waste, the fraud, and abuse to protect the taxpayer and ensure that those Medicaid dollars are actually there for the people they're intended for, our most vulnerable, our needy, our seniors. And so, look, this is all playing out exactly as we anticipated it would. We are seeing more people being held accountable, more people being prosecuted. And next, we're going to go after the insurance companies who have been taking advantage of the taxpayers in the form of these Obamacare subsidies. They need to be reined in. They are taking in 230% increase in profits, and it is while premiums have gone up. And so we're going to do that next. I believe we're going to deal with that this upcoming month, and we have to, because we need to resolve this issue and protect the taxpayers. And it's not just Medicaid. You see it across the board with SNAP, fraudsters coming in and stealing from SNAP recipients. So we need to do more to hold those individuals accountable as well.
No, I mean, the Washington Post actually pointed out that the truth about SNAP is it doesn't really just help the hungry. It's the 4th highest rate of documented fraud across all federal programs, $10.5 billion between 2018 and 2022. So this is a federal issue. So my question is, what can the federal government do? What can Congress do as these investigations are playing out in Minnesota?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of the same things we did with Medicaid early on, right, in the big, beautiful bill. We're going to do some of those same actions. But one of the other things that's really important, we are seeing so much money being stolen because they're stealing the actual cards, the codes on these cards. And the fraudsters are taking in and draining these accounts. And people who are actually relying on SNAP and need those funds find that their cards are empty when they go to the supermarket. And so, look, these are things that we need to take on. For so long, the Democrats have allowed these programs to become expanded and unaccounted for. And finally, it's going to end, because we want to, number one, protect taxpayers, and number two, also make sure that this money goes to the intended recipients, not the fraudsters, not the criminal organizations, not the gangs. And that's what we're going to do, to take action, hold them accountable. And thankfully, we have a Department of Justice, by the way, that is going after these individuals and actually prosecuting them. Remember, Republicans were the ones that pointed out all the billions of dollars in the PPP program and the COVID relief program that drove up inflationary spending in our country. Now we're going to hold these individuals accountable.
Yeah, no, an all-of-government approach is what we're seeing from the Trump administration. Look, let's talk about the health care issue right now that's going to be facing you when you go to work next week. Obamacare subsidies have now expired. Millions of Americans are facing higher health care premiums. You're the assistant whip for House Republican Conference. The GOP seems to be a bit divided right now on a fix. So what's the plan to get everybody on board, avoid another shutdown at the end of the month, but also, how do you institute reform with a short calendar for the month of January?
I think this is going to require a bipartisan solution. And what I think eventually plays out this month is that you see a bill going over to the Senate, and I think the Senate will work with us on the proposal that we put forward, Brian Fitzpatrick, myself, and a bipartisan group of Republicans and Democrats, that actually does extend these tax credits, but does so in a way that holds the insurance companies accountable. They have really seen their profits increase while premiums have gone up. And claims have all too often been denied. And so we need to have a balanced approach here where we don't allow this continuation of the system be taken advantage of and the taxpayers who are funding it. I think that the bipartisan solution we put forward is the best solution. It is balanced. It is not a clean extension of these subsidies, but it also is not an expiration of these subsidies. It is something with reform that can hold the line and let us work over the next couple of years to actually fix this system in its entirety.
On the other side, though, how worried are you about another threatened Schumer shutdown? Is that a real possibility?
Of course it's a possibility, but I think that that's why we have to focus on this bipartisan approach. Not doing just a clean extension, which satisfies the Democrats, not doing a complete expiration, which satisfies some of the Republicans, but a balanced approach. I mean, why is everyone so afraid of working in a bipartisan manner? I think that's what the American people want. We see a problem with the existing system, and we can fix it and at least try to make it better. And then we really have to have a larger conversation about health care in this country and how do we fix the Affordable Care Act, which was never actually affordable. And it hurt constituents, it hurt companies, it really drove out competition, and that is not good for anybody, really, and that's why we have the problem that we have of rising costs in this country.
Well, it's hurting the taxpayer, to your point. So let's talk about New York City. Big news, of course. New York City's new Democratic Socialist Mayor, Zohran Mamdani, has now officially been sworn into office. Watch this.
We will draw this city closer together. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. We will answer to all New Yorkers, not to any billionaire or oligarch who thinks they can buy our democracy.
And one of his first acts as mayor, an executive order revoking all executive orders by his predecessor, Eric Adams, over the past year. He also has taken over the New York City mayor's office, the official X account there. According to a Jewish civil rights group, he has deleted past posts about combating anti-Semitism. And that has been the fear of many Jewish New Yorkers with him coming into office.
Yeah, look, they have every right to be concerned. And I think that people who want to see public safety in this city have a right to be concerned. This is somebody who has previously called for defunding the police. Now he says, I think what's going to happen is going to drive these cops out. He's not going to replace them. We are already about 8,000 to 10,000 cops fewer than we had on September 11th, 2001. He says he wants to legalize prostitution, which will deteriorate our quality of life. He wants to do all these radical things that come out of Karl Marx's playbooks. Seize the means of production, government-run supermarkets, purchasing property and turning them into communes. This is crazy stuff. And as the only Republican that represents our city in Washington, I'm going to be that line of defense and push back as much as possible to hold him accountable and to stop this radical, reckless agenda that if we don't stop it here in New York City, it will spread potentially across the country. And so we have a real important work ahead of us.
Before you go, speaking of your work as a New York lawmaker, you're going to court next week. Tell us about that before you go.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the Democrats are once again suing to try to change my district lines. They can't tolerate one Republican representing our city. And the reality is I'm in a district where it's 40% Democrats, 27% Republicans, and the remaining independents. And so we won because we won on merit. We won on policy. We won because the predecessor, who was a Democrat, wasn't doing his job representing the people. We're going to continue to fight this gerrymandering attempt in court. It is a shame that we have to go through this lengthy, expensive legal battle, but I think in the end of the day we will prevail, even if this has to go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. We are going to protect this district and the voice of the people of Staten Island and Southern Brooklyn from this horrific, really, really irresponsible attempt by the Democrats because they can't win on merit and debate.
It's such important work that you're doing on several fronts. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.